Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Tasmanian health authorities are reassuring the public the AstraZeneca vaccine is overall very safe and severe blood clots are a rare risk, though it hasn't quashed the fears of many locals, with hundreds cancelling bookings for the jab.
In 24 hours, the advice around AstraZeneca has evolved dramatically, but what hasn't changed is the state government's confidence in the effectiveness of the vaccine.
There is a very low risk, and I do want to stress this, a very low risk.
The AstraZeneca vaccine remains a safe and effective vaccine in most cases.
More than 1,400 Tasmanians between the ages of 18 and 50 have already received their first AstraZeneca jab, and unless they experience any side effects,
a second dose is absolutely safe and appropriate.
But the preferred vaccine for people under 50 is now Pfizer, while over 50 it remains AstraZeneca.
GPs and GP respiratory clinics are also continuing today to administer AstraZeneca vaccines.
Regardless of the reassurance, health officials concede public confidence is low. The Launceston Health Hub has had close to 1,500 bookings cancelled in a matter of weeks, more expected to flood in over the coming days.
There's been lots of patients asking questions around the safety, even those over 50s.
Around 40 extra staff were recently hired at the medical centre to help with the rollout. Now they're sitting idle.
Certainly their hours will be cut because there won't be the people and the vaccines to give them to.
But what does this mean for our statewide vaccination rollout? Today there was a common theme.
Recalibration or redesign.
Recalibrated vaccine volumes.
Recalibration.
The reconfigured rollout.
Effectively short-term delays, but not a massive blowout to the timeline, according to Public Health. A more detailed roadmap is expected to be revealed next week, but the Premier is adamant remote areas won't be disadvantaged.
We'll make certain that Tasmanians receive the vaccine at the most opportune time.
And for those fearful about the potential ill effects of a COVID vaccine, the Director of Public Health says if you contract the virus itself,
it's clear the consequences of that is much more grave than a very rare side effect.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
The Premier has announced an easing of restrictions at events to begin from early May. Indoor and outdoor venues will be able to operate at 100% capacity, so long as they're seated and ticketed, much to the delight of local theatre companies.
That we're back basically to normal, like we were pre-COVID. This is a complete and utter game changer for those, and especially the ones that were looking at closing down.
From the date, patrons will no longer need to wear masks in theatres either. A Tasmanian Liberal candidate, Adam Brooks, is facing pressure to drop out of the election after it emerged he will soon face court on firearms storage charges. The allegations have taken the heat off Labor's troubled campaign, with the party today making its biggest policy announcement to date.
After 2 weeks of factional warfare, Labor's campaign is back on its feet.
An elected majority Labor government would invest $137 million to clear the waiting list for elective surgery.
Throwing its biggest policy punch so far,
$390 million here at this site, the REPAT.
The pledge would see the Hobart Repatriation Hospital works finished by 2025 and include an extra 85 beds for mental health, day surgery and palliative care.
We are going to put health back on the map. A health system that works for all Tasmanians.
The Liberals have already announced $200 million for the second stage of the Royal Hobart redevelopment. Pandemic-hardened nurses say they're unimpressed by the major parties, today rallying to demand 260 vacancies be filled at the hospital.
Morale's at an all-time low. Our nurses here, every nurse is fatigued. We're breaking new records for overtime and double shifts.
Elsewhere on the campaign trail, Elise Archer said her party would string together an extra $1 million for the arts, while in Launceston, the Greens revealed how it would tackle housing woes with a new department.
Our plan shows that you can build 8,000 new, affordable, energy-efficient homes by the year 2030.
Meanwhile, the Premier is sticking to his guns over this controversial candidate.
We are at the Burnie Clay Target Club, where we're shooting straight for majority government.
Adam Brooks is set to face court on charges of failing to correctly store ammunition. Peter Gutwin insists he shouldn't sack Mr Brooks, despite dumping Franklin candidate Dean Newington last week over a Facebook video.
In this matter, Mr Brooks is expecting to be summoned. It'll take its course through the courts, but as I've said, he will be vigorously defending this.
Labor forced out candidate Ben McGregor on Wednesday over inappropriate text messages he sent 7 years ago. Rebecca White says the Premier has to act.
I've demonstrated I'm able to take strong action when necessary. Is he going to be able to demonstrate the same leadership?
A campaign where both parties have shot themselves in the foot. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Federal Tasmanian Independent Andrew Wilkie is calling for a referendum on poker machines to coincide with the May state election. Mr Wilkie says the public should be allowed to decide the fate of the pokies beyond 2023.
And if 3 weeks isn't long enough for that to be organised, then I'm calling on all of the parties and all of the candidates to commit to holding a referendum during the next Parliament.
The Liberal Party has rejected the proposal, saying it's focused on harm minimisation. Firefighters are calling for major political parties to increase funding for fire organisations, saying not doing so could be deadly. The Tasmanian branch of the United Firefighters Union is calling for change to an outdated funding model, saying our fireys are overworked and concerned by it.
The growth in the urban areas has pushed out more and more, meaning that the fire crews have to respond further out, which leaves parts of our urban area vulnerable.
The union says a recent report on government services shows Tasmanians face the highest risk of death in a residential fire. Van Dairy Limited has responded to allegations of poor effluent management at its northwest farms. The company says it has received environmental protection notices at several of its properties, resulting in the temporary suspension of an operating licence at one. A statement provided from Van Dairy says it's undertaking repairs to effluent ponds and pumping systems, due to be finished by the end of April. In 2016, the business and its 27 farms were sold to the Chinese buyer, Moonlake Investments. An initiative has been launched to help people working in hospitality access support. LIFELINE has partnered with Tasmania's peak hospitality body in an effort to normalise talking about mental health.
It's an industry hit especially hard during the pandemic. Now more is being done to assist those working in hospitality struggling with their mental health.
My name's Carl. I've been in hospitality now for 25 years. The early hours of one morning I was sort of sitting there and decided that, that I've got to do something about this.
Carl Winter sought help for anxiety and depression 2.5 years ago. He's now telling his story as part of a video campaign in an effort to make people more comfortable talking about mental health.
It's going to help normalise bad mental health, and to turn around and say that, that it happens to all of us. We have it, we ebb and flow through our lives. Everyone does.
He will also take on a mentoring role as a part of a pilot program to engage venue operators.
To understand a bit more about mental health and the things or signs that can show that people are having difficulties, whether it's around mental health or something else, and then obviously lead them off to LIFELINE as the experts in this field.
It's a part of a formal partnership between LIFELINE and Tasmania's peak hospitality body.
As I said, becomes really normalised and people feel more able to say, actually I'm feeling like that, I'll reach out as well.
The Tasmanian Hospitality Association is hoping to make help more accessible.
If we can help one person through this or help them get the assistance they need, then that's a great outcome.
And if you or anyone you know needs help, you can contact the Tasmanian Lifeline. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
The forestry industry can play a role in Tasmania's homelessness crisis, according to the Forest Products Association. The organisation is putting forward more timber-built houses as a solution, saying it can be done affordably and sustainably.
We know there's capacity within the industry which can be unlocked with the right policies, regulatory framework and investment.
One of the major issues that we have in the industry in Tasmania at the moment is that the availability of appropriate timber for construction is in short supply.
They say they'll be asking the incoming government to work with farmers and graziers to grow the industry in a range of areas, including native forests. Tasmania is set for a weekend of wild weather with massive swirls and snow forecast. The Weather Bureau says a cold front is expected to cross the state tomorrow, with snow predicted down to 600 metres. Swirls of up to 9 metres are expected along the west and south coasts over the weekend, with possible damage to coastlines. And of course, Murph will be along soon with a full weather forecast. Tasmania's luckiest suburbs have been revealed. The Lottery Office has released the hotspots for highest average wins over the past 2 years. Hobart coming out on top, followed by Newnham and Upper Burnie. Launceston, Smithton and Newtown also made the top 10. The unluckiest postcodes were Lindisfarne, Risdon Vale, Westbury and Wynyard. A boutique musical festival is set to take over Tasmania's Northern Midlands once more. In 2020, the Tasmanian Chamber Music Festival was cancelled because of COVID. This year, organisers say it will be better than ever, holding 2 festivals back-to-back in October to meet demand.
It's a combination of wonderful chamber music in heritage buildings, in churches, town halls, using village greens and private homes.
150 tickets will be available for each festival, with the opening nights to be held in Evandale. Launceston commuters have faced an interrupted morning drive due to a burst water main on Wellington Street. Repair works took place until 10 a.m, forcing the closure of one southbound lane on the busy road. Around 30 properties were affected by the water outage, including a small number of businesses in the area.
Former Lauderdale skipper Bryce Walsh returns to the side for this weekend's clash with Kingborough. Both teams escaped with wins in round 1. The Tigers relish new captain Lockie Clifford's comeback to the lineup.
I think probably, with him being injured a lot the last couple of years, everyone's probably forgotten how good Lockie Clifford is as a footballer. I think he had 28 touches on Friday.
Bryce will play. He's got through the last couple of weeks of training. He trained really strongly on Tuesday night, so we're looking forward to having him back around the ball. And he's definitely right to go.
A new generation of players open Glenorchy's season. Victorian recruits Darian Wyatt and Nick Rybelt have been named, along with Harrison Gunther, who sat out last season. The Pies won't face former teammate Mitch Rainbird. The Clarence recruit is out indefinitely due to concussion.
We obviously made the difficult decision to leave Glenorchy and come across, so it's been really tough for him. I think he said to me the other day he's done 3 pre-seasons for 6 games.
There are a lot of people out there think we are going to fall off that cliff because that generation of players that you talk about, some of them have moved on from state league footy, but this isn't a shock to us. This is something we've been working towards. Our players have been really cognizant of it over the off-season.
Clarence narrowly lost to Lauderdale last week. The Under-18s Hockey Championships in Launceston has produced a reality check for Tasmania's girls team after yesterday's win over New South Wales. Isabel Krumink was the sole scorer for the local side, as Tassie was pummeled by Queensland 5-1 this afternoon at St Leonard's. Meanwhile, Tasmania's boys team almost pulled off a comeback in the championships, down 3-0 at half-time. Late goals had the side back within reach, but time ran out before Tassie could equalise. And the Friday Flashback is back. During the week, we caught up with Mark Winterbottom ahead of the Supercars at Symmons Plains. And tonight, we're winding back the clock to one of Frosty's best, a V8's classic at the track in 2010. Frosty conditions and Frosty fans.
There, forward! Mark Winterbottom all the way.
Naturally, the retreat was full of good company, while others found it down closer to the track.
You're not going to get sunburned and they can have a photo with us.
On the track, the fan favourite Frosty started from pole but gave it up within moments. His rivalry with Jason Bright had sparks flying.
And it's almost as though it's the last lap.
Gearbox grief forced Craig Lowndes into the pits. Others ended up in the grass.
He is God.
The safety car did plenty of laps in the wet conditions, but Frosty's Orcon-backed Falcon and teammate Paul Dumbrell claimed a 1-2 win for Ford.
He fought to hold on to his lead, and he brings it home for Ford Performance Racing, a 1-2 here in Tasmania.
And on that same day, John Bowe won back-to-back Touring Car Masters races to cap off the 50th anniversary of the track.
I've been racing here since I was 17, and I drove my dad's racing car here when I was 11. So I've been racing here for a long time, and it's like racing around my backyard. It's just my track.
Good evening. Bit of a chilly start today. Hobart 9 degrees cooler than yesterday with 15 degrees. Launceston reached 18, Burnie and Devonport 16. 19 was the high at St Helens as most temperatures sat below average, some up to 5 degrees. Lowhead, Friendly Beaches and Flinders Island 17. King Island, Smithton and Bushy Park 16. Strawn 15. Lyawini scrambled to a high of 7. Patchy low-level cloud over the state after the rain of last night. Cradle Valley recorded 33 millimetres. We have a frontal band extending across the Bight, south from Western Australia. Tropical cyclone Odette joins the systems off WA as well. Tomorrow another front crosses Tasmania. The high moves over the Bight as the cyclones remain close to the Western Australian coastline. The west-northwesterlies will swing around to the southwest and up to 30 to 40 knots over the south, west and north in the evening. As mentioned earlier in the bulletin, 9-metre swells expected in western and southern waters. So we have a severe weather warning for those areas for damaging surf. That's in the west, south and southeast. A gale warning from Tasman Island up to and including Flinders Island. A strong wind warning for remaining waters with the exception of the upper east. We have a warning to sheep graziers as well for many grazing districts. A bushwalkers alert for the western and central plateau. A road weather alert for the central plateau for snow above 800 metres. Plenty going on. Still cool tomorrow. 14 for Hobart and showery. Maydena 11. 11 also for Oatlands with a shower or two. Launceston 16. Partly cloudy. Devonport 15. A high of 8 for Lyawini. Showers or snow. Take your pick. 15 for Burnie. Showery and windy. Showers for Strawn 14 the high and 15 for Marrawar. St Helens shooting for a top tomorrow of 19 degrees. Partly cloudy. Swansea 16 and 15 for Orford. On Sunday, fine over the northeast but showers and possible hail elsewhere and snow above 600 metres. And just to make it spicy, some strong southwesterly winds. Showers contracting to the west and far south on Monday. Showers back on Tuesday, extending statewide by evening. And by comparison, Perth is expecting 30 degrees tomorrow. A shower in Adelaide and Melbourne, a morning shower for Sydney. Brisbane, fine and sunny and 33 degrees. Partly cloudy in Hobart, it's 11 right now. Clear in Launceston, 12, and in Devonport, 11 degrees and clear. But what is clear to me, Kim, is that Donna's going to want the heat pumps on at home any time now.
I do not blame her. That summer has well and truly gone. Thank you, Murph.